that this was a several-month process. Actually, this has been going on for 3.5 years. It has been the result of an open community process. Many dozens of events have been held at the street. The Block Association published articles in every single issue of its newsletter on the open streets and what was going on. Available electronically for people who were out of town, as well as in their print newsletter. After this lengthy process, some people from CB7 came to the street, visited it, were interested in looking what was going on. After all of that process, CB7 did exactly what they're supposed to do. They held 2 meetings, one at the Transportation Committee meeting and then the full board. Now, I'm not here to convince you of the facts. I don't have to, because it's a matter of public record. Everybody in this room can watch the full CB7 Transportation Committee meeting and see that there were people from all sides of this issue who spoke. And everybody can watch the full board meeting that voted 38-1 to endorse the street improvement project of DOT. So this has been an open process with a lot of community input over 3.5 years, and that is what stimulated DOT to say, you know what, this is a working open street, we're going to do this and we're going to make this street better. So you've already gotten a taste of that. There are 3 elements to the open street, and they're all summarized on this flyer, which some of you received at the door. The 3 benefits are safety, beauty, and inclusion. I'm going to repeat that several times. Safety, beauty, and inclusion. These are the benefits of the open street. What do we mean by safety? We mean that the intersections are going to be a lot safer, and cars, by design, are going to travel more slowly. We do not want speeding cars on our streets. There have been injuries and deaths in this neighborhood as a result of that, and they are tragic, and they could be avoided, and they should not happen. We have had people killed in traffic crashes in this neighborhood, blocks away from where we're sitting right now. They're preventable, they're avoidable, they should not be tolerated. There are people in this room who have lost loved ones to traffic crashes, and they can be prevented. We inspect our restaurants to make sure that they're healthy. DOT inspects our streets to make sure they are healthy and safe. We can do better. We can eliminate this carnage on our street from traffic. Justin Davidson in New York Magazine in January called this area of the Upper West Side the Bermuda Triangle of traffic crashes. So it could be a lot better, and we're here to make it better. So that's what safety is all about. Let's talk about beauty, planter powers. Is there anybody here who doesn't like the 14 planters that were part? Okay, there are 2 people here who don't like the planters. More than that. Okay, how many people here like the planters on West 103rd Street? Okay. So under the street improvement project, they're going to double the number of planters. So now there are 14, there are going to be more than 30 if this goes ahead. I love the planters, lots of us love the planters. And what's more, under a contract with the Horticultural Society of New York, DOT actually maintains the planters. Okay, the third thing, remember, safety, beauty, and inclusion. These are the 3 pillars why we like the open street and the street improvement project. Let's talk a little bit about inclusion. What got us going in this whole project was looking at the poor outdoor space in front of the Marseille, where many of our friends are in motorized scooters and wheelchairs, and sidewalks are very, very narrow. Now, there are a couple of people here who have movement disorders. Antoinette is there in her motorized scooters. I don't know how many of you have actually been in a motorized scooter or a wheelchair and understand the accommodations that people who are using these assistive devices have to go through on a narrow sidewalk, if they have to navigate a sidewalk that's less than 3 feet between trash bags and scaffolding, and a walker is coming in the other direction, how would you feel if you had to contend with that? They want room to move, they want better outdoor spaces, and they deserve it. So part of the street improvement plan is to repurpose some curb space that was used for parking as public space. So at the corner at the Marseille, there's going to be a little parklet that wraps around Broadway, and it will be safe outdoor spaces, very much like you have seen at our outdoor events. So for the first time, the residents of the Marseille are going to have a high-quality space where they can sit, where they can talk to the kids at the nonprofit Purple Circle Early Childhood Education Program. This is not a new idea. In 2009, Gail Brewer was at an event that we did with the Block Association where we repurposed that space around the Marseille. We had a little festival, we called it Senior Moments, and there were so many people on the street that enjoying the music, and kids and older people getting together, that our Block Association, the 102nd, 103rd Street Block Association, decided to do a survey, and that survey was done online, in the newsletter, and at the annual yard sale. And what did it show? It showed that people actually liked this idea of a more inclusive community and a parklet around the Marseille, a community where we could have 103rd Street connecting both parks. So the Block Association wrote a letter, this was in 2009, to CB7 and said, we really like the idea, we should make an improvement at the corner of Broadway and 103rd in front of the Marseille. And now we have the opportunity to actually get it, and it's going to be wonderful. We can do so much better for people with mobility, who are mobility challenged, who have a tough enough life and deserve to have quality outdoor spaces. The same thing is true at the entrance to the Frederick Douglass campus and Hostling International that Emily described. And I'm going to show you, this is how the entrance looks right now. This is what we're talking about doing in the future. Here's the intersection that Emily described. Here's how it looks now. Here's how it would look after the SIP. There are more of these available in the audience and also at our website. Here's how 103rd Street by the Marseille looks now. Here's how it will look after it's transformed.
Would you mind just turning it more?
Oh, I'm very sorry. Yes, and we have people in the audience who are going to show you this, so you can actually look at it. So this is where Herb lives. This corner, very nice place. Right? That's where you live, Herb. He likes it the way he is. And here's how we're proposing to make it even better. And we think with a planter there, he's going to have that big smile on his face, and hopefully we will all have a big smile on our face. Now, inclusion, we talked about making it better for people with movement challenges, but it goes beyond that. You know, one of the best things that I have experienced by being a volunteer for this for 3.5 years was getting to know people in the community. My friends and neighbors now in the Frederick Douglass housing, who love 103rd Street too, who use 103rd Street to go to Riverside Park and also to Central Park. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is with a grant from the Regional Plan Association and DOT, we have hired, fiscally sponsored by WSFISH, the West Side Federation of Senior and Supportive Housing that runs the Marseille, 6 youth ambassadors who all grew up in Douglas. I'd just like our youth ambassadors to stand up right now and say hello. So our youth ambassadors, this grant money is being used to train them in doing asphalt art. What do we mean by asphalt art? We mean exactly what you see on this picture here, where the public spaces that are being created are going to be decorated by our youth ambassadors after the plans are approved by DOT. So part of inclusivity, I have a lot of new friends now in Frederick Douglass campus. Some of the most wonderful people I've ever gotten to know. One of my best friends actually grew up there, and we've been friends now for over 25 years. She grew up at 868 Amsterdam Avenue. So I'm very, very happy that I've gotten to make many new friends in the course of this. Our community partners like Wistfish. I don't know if people realize this, Wistfish's first building was the Marseille Senior and Supportive Housing. They're now the largest provider of senior and supportive housing on the west side.
Is there going to be equal time for other people to talk?
Okay, there's a request out there for an off switch, and I just want to say, Wistfish, great organization. This has been an open, democratic community process that went to CB7 where there were a lot of questions, and you should all look up these meetings yourself and decide for yourself on the process. So thank you very much, and thank you, Peace Institute.
Thank you for the great presentation, and I'd just like to let you know, this guy called me on a Sunday, and he made another friend at the Douglass campus.
Thank you. All right. We're gonna try to stick with our process here, and so Peter, just to capture what you said that this hasn't just been a few months long process, but it's been 3.5 years in the making. That there's been lots of opportunity for community engagement that you've been a part of, including the CB2 meetings that you referenced, CB7 meetings that you referenced that are available online, and that you're hoping that with these open streets that you will reduce the traffic accidents that are in the neighborhood. You cited some of the accidents. I think you said there have been 38 crashes and 31 intersections. So your hope is that with a change in intersections that will help with safety, that with a change by adding the planters, that will add to beauty as well as your youth ambassadors and their art, and that you want to make this space more inclusive for people with mobility challenges, and you talked a lot about that, as well as bringing up people within the neighborhood, specifically people who live in Frederick Douglass, to be part of this. And you also mentioned Wishfish and Brandon. Okay, so on that, I'm going to pass to Maxine, and then I know there was a request to have Nancy talk about the block association process, and then we're going to get to the questions.
There are a lot of other people from the Block Association here too, so.
Yes, my name is. Let me stand up and.
Stand up and speak loud and clear, please.
My name is Maxine DeSeta. I am an 83-year-old woman with a 75-pound dog. Okay, guys. We cannot access the subway with the dog, obviously. Our transportation needs are very limited. When I talked to Dennis Rodriguez of the DOT, when he was on NYC, he said to me, well, I said, you know, I need my parking. I'm a former teacher, a public school teacher. As you may realize, essential workers can no longer live here. We have a bad parking situation to begin with. 800 of our garage spaces have been taken from us. We now have to pay $800 a month. Only the wealthy can live here anymore. NYCHA has its own parking, but I digress.
It's been privatized.
Oh no,
buy car shares, whatever the names are, they want the streets to.
What is your name, sir? I'm sorry.
My name is Russell Taylor, I'm a county committee person, I live in Frederick Douglass Housing.
Thank you.
And our parking has been privatized to Zipcar and so forth. We don't have access to ourselves.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. So part of the process that is happening here, with Russell just explained, is two parts. One, Transportation Alternatives, a multi-million-dollar non-for-profit or lobbying organization, and you know what non-for-profit lobbying could be. NRA is a non-for-profit. So, you know, non-for-profits is a loosey-goosey term. Anyhow, this organization has been around since 1976. They have many, many, many subsidiaries. Open Streets is one of, Open Streets is one of them. Their main object is to eliminate cars in New York City. Although I'm a car owner, I hate driving, I don't drive in New York City. I use public transportation all the time. You can stop smirking. You know, I'm really tired. We went to CB7, we had the same, you know. No, we live here. I've lived here all my life. I lived on 107th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam in the 70s and the 80s. My mother had to live with me. I took care of two of my parents. I needed my car to take her to the Garden Riverside Senior Center. I was also in an MFA program at City College. My children, my grandchildren, all go to the City College public school systems. And we have been demonized by transportation alternatives, particularly Martin Gordon, who calls us selfish pigs at the trough. Did I say that correctly? Thank you, Martin. Yes, we're selfish pigs. You're looking at a selfish pig right now. A Tier 4 pension school teacher who bicycled for 30 years to my Harlem school. Only 1% of your bicyclers or less even use their bicycles for work. You know that it's difficult to park, and yet we are demonized for just parking because all of a sudden we have free storage. Excuse me? We pay the second highest taxes for a city in the United States. There is nothing free about anything we do in this city. Nobody middle class can move in this district anymore. And as far as NYCHA supporting this, I know they can't because they did have their own parking, and all the business with this DOT presentation was presented at the Community Board 7 in June to the Transportation Committee, and also in September to the full committee. We were never allowed to present anything. We were silenced. And we can take apart the DOT presentation in 5 minutes. One, these streets, open streets for underserved communities. That is not our community, sorry. More open streets, underserved, you have 2 major parks here and 5 mini parks on the Upper West Side. Sorry folks, you're in paradise here. The other part is there's been 1 accident in 2016, 1. You have 5-mile signs already, and that's terrific. There is nothing in the New York Charter that says DOT was even allowed to start an open streets situation on 103rd. It is not park to park. NYCHA did not want to have bicycles running through their communities. And as far as the so-called stakeholder outreach, that was outreach. That does not mean support. There's only 4 entities that supported this. The supportive housing folks in Marseille, that's the same group. They're the same group that has low income and a certain amount of disability people in their buildings. My mother lived in one of those units. Not on Marseille, but in another one. And we have low income and disabled people in all of our buildings on the west side. And they do not get reserved parking. Marseille doesn't even use that the parking they have. As far as the street activities, they should be in NYCHA. NYCHA has 6 acres of grounds. That's where the asphalt arch should be, not on 103rd Street. I have friends in NYCHA. And also, as far as support is concerned, Transportation Alternatives has 8 front groups, a number that are here today. Families for Safe Streets. They have a $4 million budget. They have street films. They are involved with a revolving door of people. First they work for Transportation Alternatives, and then they work for Lyft. Who is Lyft? Lyft is your city bikes. Those are not run by the city. Lyft is a private corporation, folks. And they gave $100,000 to Transportation Alternatives, and that is Peter Fischhoff's organization. He started Street Packs in 2013. That's their donation arm. They give to every politician out here, including Miss Brewer, Al Brewer. They pose her photo op in front of a bike in her culottes. And I love Gail. I've known her for years. But what this group is doing with their films, with their front groups, with their families, and their demonization of everybody. Besides the fact that we're pigs. Oh, by the way, when I was, against the war in Vietnam, I was called a commie hippie, All right.
Can you moderate? Can you send?
The people on the panel have an opportunity to speak. They have 10 minutes, and they are presenting their cases, and you can hear what they have to say.
I want to say one more thing, madam. Sorry. Why am I so angry? My child was killed. My 11-year-old son was killed by a reckless driver on the turnpike on 195. And I almost was dead also. And I did not ask everybody in Connecticut to give up their cars because we do not have adequate public transportation. Only 1% of our bus stops even have shelters. Only 17% of our subways have elevators. Why don't we fix our public transportation first? And I just have one more thing to say, sorry. When I healed, I took my 2 girls in the car, yes, wave. When I healed, I put my kids in the car and I took them camping cross country. So, thank you very much for allowing me to have time because CBS, CB7 gave us nothing. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, and I could see you are very upset about this. You feel like you've been silenced, and you really wanted to use this opportunity to share with the community why this matters so much to you. You feel like you're being priced out of the city as a former teacher, and this just feels like another thing to make it hard for you to be in the city. You rely on your car, even though you use public transportation for something. And you also said that you believe that open streets is really for underserved communities. You don't see how this is an underserved community. And you don't believe that there are real supporters for this that are from the community, but really are fronts for transportation alternatives and corporations like Lyft. Okay. And I'm gonna let Nancy speak about the Block Association meeting. Nancy, unfortunately, you're not gonna have 10 minutes, you'll have closer to 2, like Cynthia.
Oh, you hear me? Am I talking? Right, first of all, I want to say that Cynthia did an accurate description of the Block Association trajectory, the way I understood it. So Cynthia was accurate in her description of the Block Association chronology in relation to open streets. And I do want to say that it was accurate, Cynthia, so I have no argument with what she said. The only thing I would say is that the survey that was distributed among the Block Association community reflected that there was a real divide in the community. Real mixed feelings about this. Some very positive, some very negative, and a lot somewhere in between. And I think that, passions are high here. Peter is passionate. I really get I understand that. He's passionate about this issue. Maxine is passionate in her objections. I think we want to hear them both as honest in their passions. However, Peter's passion and the passion of those of you who share it has turned out to be impervious to the fact that the community is divided. And I feel like we really need to pay attention to that. I've lived on 103rd Street for 42 years. I've lived on the Upper West Side since I was 21 and I'm now 79. I love this community. And up until very recently, the immediate community in which I live has been a very harmonious community. And now it is not. And so what I want to say is thank you to Cynthia for getting this organized. Thank you, Diana, for mediating here. I thank Gail Brewer, who has left already, for initiating this process, and for you, Department of Transportation person, for being here. I think that you may think that there was greater community support because Peter has a way of showing support from where it is, but really not showing the support that is not there. And so you may have been blinded to the fact that there are a lot of people who are not in support of this. I hope that we will move forward. My understanding was that there will be future meetings, and you've said that. And I really hope that we can come to some agreement so that we can return to some harmony in our community. And agreement means agreement. It means coming to some place where both those who object and those who are for can be okay with it. I would like very much, and I know that Herb talked to you about this, Ayana, to have Stephen Fink speak very briefly, if you would, okay?
There are other people.
Well, but this was raised long before you got it.
It was, but it's true. I thought that you were looking for equal time or equal numbers of speakers, and now there's obviously unequal time and unequal numbers of speakers. So, Mr. Fink, before you speak, can we get to some of the questions that the community members asked, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak. I want to make sure you get that 2 minutes, but I also want to respect the process. Is that okay? And then I'll bring the microphone right to you, and you won't have to get up.
Well, not any other people in the audience be able to speak.
You can
He's not an audience member.
What were you when you went up there?
I am not an audience member. We've been asking for me to be able to speak for weeks.
Yeah, we just didn't have enough seats. Okay.
So can you explain the public process?
Yes.
Who is showing up where?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the public. On Herb's list of speakers was Herb, Maxine, Nancy, and Stephen, okay? And I tried to, initially, we were going to have more people on the pro side speaking, but when it was clear that we didn't have that same number of people, I changed the, on there.
Nobody asked me, so. No one asked me to have other people speak, so just, as a matter of record, Herb and Maxine and Nancy may have had that conversation with you. I never had a
You never
conversation.
How about having the time to go to questions rather than speeches?
All right.
That's more important for the people to ask questions and get more information that they are interested in.
So we asked for people to submit questions in advance. Of the 106 people who RSVP'd, 79 submitted questions and comments, which we were then able to submit in advance to the panelists. I said, except for DOT, which didn't get these in advance. Apologies for that. Okay, so the first question is this. Many of the parking spaces on 103rd Street currently are reserved for construction vehicles and equipment. How does this number compare to the number of spaces that will be lost due to the proposed mid-block bump up? So that's for you.
So in terms of our overall parking counts, there's a net removal of 13 spaces impacted. There are 15 for 103rd, but we've added 2 additional parking spaces on Amsterdam. And there are going to be a lot of spaces that will be turned back to the community once the construction staging goes away. So overall, the overall parking impact will feel much less significant once the project is installed.
I'm gonna give you a hard
Could I
Is
add
this
one?
1 day a week?
Sorry to keep
Or
going.
1 day a month?
I'm gonna just keep going with these questions to make sure that we get to the one that were pre-submitted.
For a minute.
This is on this point. I've done a count, and there appear to be 15 spaces occupied by construction today, so that there will be a net gain of 2 spaces after they're released.
So after the 15 spaces are released, and then 13 are taken, there will be 2. Okay?
The total number of existing potential parking on the streets. Because if you're not moving.
All right, she doesn't have that information, but we'll add it to the questions that you can get responses to.
Okay, we need a percent of how much is lost.
I'm
Not
not actually-
the absolute number.
And just ask a question and then have it to be responded to. Okay. The next question is, why can't most streets on the Upper West Side get this treatment?
Great question, appreciate that. There are multiple streets that we are looking to install this treatment, and again, something we want to watch because we think it's a really great balance of providing that critical safety element, the greening element, with a way to preserve both parking and vehicular circulation on blocks, which is very important for residential blocks, and a balance we try to strike. So we are working on 22nd Street in Manhattan is another block that we're looking to install this treatment. We've installed this treatment in North Brooklyn, in and around Cooper Park. And it's something we're looking at for additional streets because early observation has shown that it is very helpful for traffic calming.
Okay, I think this mic works. Does this microphone work? Okay, great. That way you can keep that because I have a feeling most of you are going to. All right, here's the question. What signal does it send to the community when an effort that has gone through the proper processes for years with a broad coalition of block residents and businesses can be undermined by civil disobedience? And when any CB7 vote can be ignored if opponents of a community project raise enough of a fuss? You have it. Anybody on the panel have the answer for that?
I'll take this hot question. I think this is, first of all, a special case because of the pandemic. That many people were unaware, and when they became aware, they felt that they had been left out of the democratic process. That's number one. Number two, this is not a democratic process, and I think it should be. We're talking about people who volunteer, who have interest in these areas. Many of the people on CV7 not only are TA, some of them are real estate people. Who do you think sits on a community board?